Time for a round of overrated or underrated. I'm going to read out a list of things, and you're going to tell me if you think they are overrated or underrated. First up is cycling-specific glasses. So this is so many S's. This is a suggestion by JJ, who says, as someone who wears prescription glasses, do I need cycling-specific glasses? Does it keep my eyes from watering? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. I have ridden with non-cycling specific glasses loads of times, and I always end up with water streaming down my face or tears running down my face, and it's not because I'm suffering on the bike. The main reason I actually moved to cycling specific glasses, and it's arguably for the same reason, but it's not, is about 8 years ago, I started completely randomly getting really bad hay fever that I never used to have.
I thought you were going to say that.
And I remember George Galbraith, our friend, was like, oh yeah, I get really bad hay fever. I always wear wraparound sunglasses because they stop pollen getting into my eyes. And I was like, oh, I guess I should buy some. And I bought a set and I still have them now. And I use them specifically for that reason. So generally in like winter or bad weather, in winter, I ultimately don't wear glasses that often. But if you are going to, will they stop your eyes from watering? Yes, if they're big wraparound ones.
You can get very cheap ones that don't look horrendous these days as well, which wasn't always the case. And with prescription glasses, they're glass. Were you doing me a secret signal then, eating your microphone, or was that just
I was just hungry.
eating it? Yeah.
Oh, you mean as in like actual proper spectacles?
Yeah,
have glass
I mean,
lenses?
okay, not everyone rides a bike the same way, but if I'm out on a road ride, I don't want glass on my face because if I did crash, slim chance, but it would shatter. Plastic is the purpose-made cycling glasses don't shatter.
I would say as a glasses wearer, prescription, I actually talked about different types of prescription glasses in an old episode. If you go to Cade Media Extra and scroll down, we put clips out and you'll be able to find one there. But prescription glasses are quite expensive. Most people I know and myself wear contact lenses with normal glasses over the top. If you're comfortable...
cycling-specific glasses over the top.
Yes, exactly. If you're comfortable wearing contacts, perhaps do that and borrow someone's cycling glasses and see what it feels like. That's definitely going to give you... It's going to make your eyes water way less. But I have done rides with my normal glasses on and it is fine. It is fine. I would say I choose to wear cycling specific glasses more as a fashion thing rather than a comfort thing.
Can I say on that note, I choose to not wear cycling specific glasses as a fashion thing.
You want to wear Wayfarers?
I often wear just normal sunglasses. I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I just want to blend in. You like to peacock, don't you?
Yeah, you can get plasticky, normal looking sunglasses. And then it's best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But the wind does go in.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you'll get eye waters. Next up, pannier bags. This one was sent in by Hauk, who says, apart from the very good but really expensive Tailfin products, I feel that trunk bags are often ridiculed in the community. For most, only a saddlebag counts, affectionately referred to as an Arschracket.
Arschracket.
Which is arse rocket in German. However, these are usually cumbersome to pack. They wobble on the saddle, and when fully loaded, they're not so easily detachable. All fair points. Trunk bags, on the other hand, don't wobble, are easy to pack, can be easily detached, and still remain in the slipstream of the body. What do we think is the reason for their low popularity? Is it the luggage rack, additional cost, the massive marketing of saddlebags, aesthetic reasons, or there's simply a disadvantage to trunk bags that I'm not aware of? Thank you for the wonderful podcast. I always look forward to new episodes. Best regards from Leipzig. The road cycling world is obsessed with weight. Traditional pannier racks and panniers are typically very heavy and are often found on heavy touring bike setups. I have used a Tailfin many times, and what I know about pannier bags is they are better than traditional bike-mounted luggage. So I would always pick a pannier over a saddlebag if I was doing a long trip. If I could afford it, I would go for the lightest one I could get hold of, because in the grand, if it's going to save me 3 kilos, I'm going to be thankful of that when I'm riding up the climbs on my trip. If it's going to save me 500 grams, I'm not going to notice it. saddlebags are trendy and fashionable, and bucket loads of marketing was thrown into them at various points because they allowed for lightweight packing of, like, at least in ultra marathon space. I don't know if it's the same with like TCR and things like that. Is there compulsory kit? You have to carry like a safety jacket and things like that.
Some of them, particularly in France, you have to have a high vis something, even if it's just like the straps that you wear on top of a jacket. Like they hand them out at the start of the races, so that's it.
I think one of the reasons they grew in popularity is you had the people that were getting attention from the old ultra distance cycling events were the people that were doing it as fast as they possibly could, which meant they were carrying as little as they possibly could. So they wanted a tiny bag that meant that they could stuff a down jacket in and a sleeping mat so that they could just throw themselves on the side of the road. They didn't want an extra 5 kilos of luggage. They wanted to be light and efficient, but they wanted to carry more than what would fit in a jersey pocket. So I think you had these like people which were coming through 10 years ago, which were doing like really cool, interesting stuff that wanted really small luggage. I think a typical person on a bike packing trip, it doesn't really make a difference. And you just use what you can afford and you like the look of. I think panniers are great.
For these fast people who they're riding normal bikes. They're riding bikes without pannier racks on, without the mounts on.
Yeah.
So you have to use either a seat pack, one of these things that's a pain in the ass to pack and swings around, or later the Tailfin, which is what came up. And that's a solution which is the kind of the best, but it is really expensive.
Again, well, ultimately because they're prioritizing performance there, therefore they want a fast bike, which typically isn't one which is loaded with rack mounts.
Yeah, typically a bike with mounts will be a steel frame, a bit heavy.
There'll be editions of TCR where people are riding like full-on like aero road bikes.
Carbon frames, yeah.
I would say even outside of that, though, if you're coming to cycling from a road cycling background, you probably got a bike that doesn't fit pannier racks. If you come to it specifically from a touring bike, you might have that. But say if you've only got one road bike and your mate goes, oh, I want to start bike packing or whatever, then you're not going to go out and buy a touring bike. So you do with what you've got.
Yeah, it's true as well, yeah.
That's why I ended up using the Tailfin.
Yeah.
I still to this day don't have a bike with proper pannier mounts on.
Yeah. And you because of the stuff that you do, you needed space to be able to fit a large laptop.
Yeah.
So you had to have
the pannier ones.
A pannier,
yeah.
And that was the only option available. So what are we saying? Overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Underrated as well, I agree with you. Next, we have 2 suggestions from Sam. The first one is loud free hubs.
Underrated.
Overrated. I hate loud free hubs.
I use it instead of a bell, but it's less aggressive to the... Okay, so if you use a bell, if you're riding down a path here...
so passive-aggressive, it's unbelievable.
And you ring a bell, the people either go... Well, they hate you for having a bell and they hate you for not having a bell, so you can't win. Whereas if you have a free hub that's clicky, everyone knows you're coming and then they move out of the way and they just... because they can hear you. That's it.
I think there's a third option, which is what I use, which I go, hello, passing on the left, or hello, passing on the right.
And then they go, why haven't you got a bell? They go, oh,
no, they
why
don't.
haven't you got a bell?
That's never happened.
I've had that hundreds of times.
It's because you're clearly buzz pasting them and then saying it.
No,
as you're right
I'm
next to them.
shouting early so they can hear me, and then they're wondering, and they go, oh, and they're shocked, and they wonder why they're being shouted at.
You
and
have
they're
to
like,
keep saying it. You
yeah,
can't
try and get a bell. You're like,
you can't
use a bell
shout
next
it
time.
from 50 meters away and then buzz past them and then be like, oh, I told you 50
There's no
meters
buzzing
away.
happening.
Unbelievable.
I'm just telling you my experience. I've done a lot of riding on the off-road paths around here, and that is the clicky free hub solves the problem. Underrated.
Electric cars. No, nothing to add.
I don't drive.
I want to say they are massively underrated. They are. So we have an electric car and a not electric car, and the electric car is unbelievably amazing to drive. I know a lot of there's a lot of this kind of like anti-electric car movement, but people are going to have cars, so surely an electric car is a better option than a not electric car in the grand scheme of things. I don't know enough about the science, but as a vehicle to drive, they're great.
It would be. I hope technology keeps getting better, so drivers know on their screen. Like, so I was in LA, everything is a Tesla. So you get an Uber, and 9 times out of 10, it's a Tesla. And you can see on their iPad in the middle of their car, it beeps and tells you there's a cyclist on the screen, and people, and all sorts. So I assume more sensors is better, as long as it's not a distraction.
It's not an electric
The giant
car
iPad
thing.
with Spotify on it in the middle of the car is a distraction, though.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some sort of rules put in place there. There's also fully driverless cars driving around LA.
Is there?
Yeah. So you're riding along, and then there's a driverless. There was two near each other.
And they had a drag race.
But they drive really slowly around.
Oh.
Like they're obviously not letting them go on any fast roads, but that's weird.
There was a video which hit the news/social literally a couple of days ago, actually, about this. It was, I think it was in San Francisco, and there was, is it Chinese New Year? Or was it recently Chinese New Year?
Year of the Dragon.
So I think it was a celebration for that, and there was a driverless car, which was a taxi, was trying to go down one of the procession roads, and a group of people were really angry by it. Not just, I think they were just like skater kids, and they smashed the car up and then set it on fire. And I was just like, what the hell? They've literally just set a taxi on fire, and then it said this was a driverless vehicle with no one in. I was like, what? So I think it was anti-driverless vehicles was the sentiment.
That does seem scary.
I know when we've talked about electric cars before, we've had a couple of comments. We must have said that they were more sustainable or whatever. And people were saying in the comments, they're not more sustainable because you plug them in, it goes off your electricity, which is still burnt off fossil fuels. But I guess, number one, you can get green. You can go with green companies, can't you, that use renewable energy?
Yeah, a lot of companies now have either 100% renewable tariffs. Some companies have only 100. Yeah, in the UK, there's a handful which are 100% renewable. There's some which have renewable tariffs, and there's obviously some which still are just not. But I think if you look into it, a lot of them, at least at the minute or more recently, even the ones that are not renewable ones have a large proportion of renewable energy as part of them.
Yeah.
In this country.
Yeah. You can also, if you're that way inclined, have your own solar panels and charge it off that. There are sustainable options for powering your vehicle, whereas I guess the difference is with petrol or diesel, there is no sustainable way to power it.
There's a lot of people questioning the battery side of stuff as well.
Right.
Producing a battery, the life of a battery.
But there's a
how you
battery in a
recycle
normal
battery.
car.
Not comparable in terms of the resources required to produce it.
Mining lithium, isn't it?
There's not even, some of them aren't. I think there's another thing as well which they are. It's not just lithium. But ultimately, battery technology is something that people are concerned about with sustainability, because I think you also get to a point where it's effectively landfill. But then all cars are ultimately end up as ultimate.
I feel like we're not qualified to talk on this, are we?
Absolutely not.
Let's do the next one. Oh, wait, that's the end.
Thank goodness.
Keep sending your suggestions to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk, and we might read yours out in the next show.